Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. So, the Vegas Golden Knights have had a very successful tenure up to this point. Vegas Golden Knights have done pretty well with the talent that they have had and the thing they've had at their disposal. But one thing that I want to point out is the connection that the Vegas Golden Knights have with a certain junior hockey league team. What I want to point out and what I want to focus on tonight's episode of Vegas Hockey Hub is there is in the Western Hockey League a team known as the Brandon Wheat Kings. And there has not been just one, not two, not three, not four, but there has been more than 5 different examples of people who have played with the Brandon Wheat Kings and then have made the transition over to the Vegas Golden Knights. There has been a noticeable pattern about the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights and the Brandon Wheat Kings have a very similar and have a common similarity when it came to who their owner was and who the general manager currently is. There has been an aspect that has been overlooked, and on tonight's show, Vegas Hockey Hub, I want to examine why there is a link, why there's a connection, a bond between the WHL's Brandon Wheat Kings and the NHL's Vegas Golden Knights. And towards the end of the show, I will be telling you why I actually believe it's a partnership that's going to last for a long time. So, we're going to kick this off by explaining what the connection is in general. So, the Brandon Wheat Kings, which is a junior hockey team in Brandon, Manitoba. This is a junior hockey league that plays in the Western Hockey League, the WHL. They are one of the 3 big junior hockey leagues out there in Canada. You have the OHL, you have the WHL, and you have the QMJHL. Well, the Brandon Wheat Kings are not only a 4-time champion out in the WHL, but more importantly, they have had a certain person that was started as an assistant coach, then became a general manager, then became a head coach, and then finally became a owner of said team. The person I'm talking about is current Vegas Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon. Now, Kelly McCrimmon, he actually played for the Brandon Wheat Kings as a player. And in fact, in 2 seasons that he was with the WHL, he was with the Brandon Wheat Kings in 1978 all the way to 1980. And he actually had 28 goals, 64 points, a good 228 penalty minutes back in the day in 95 games played as a player of the Brandon Wheat Kings. But what matters is what he did once he returned to the Brandon Wheat Kings. In 1988, Kelly McCrimmon, the current general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, he was part of the Brandon Wheat Kings as an assistant coach. 1 year later, in 1989, he becomes their general manager of the WHL Brandon Wheat Kings. He actually went on to be the general manager of the Brandon Wheat Kings for 25 seasons. Kelly McCrimmon, in 1992, actually became a minority owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings in the WHL. Fast forward 9 years, he became the sole owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings. For 19 seasons, the Brandon Wheat Kings were solely owned by the Vegas Golden Knights general manager in Kelly McCrimmon. Not only as a owner and not only as a general manager did the Brandon Wheat Kings win 3 championships during that tenure? He also was the coach for multiple seasons. As a matter of fact, he actually coached the Brandon Wheat Kings for 14 seasons. And in those 14 seasons that he was the coach of the Brandon Wheat Kings, they won the WHL championship in 2015. They made it to the playoffs every single year from 2004 to 2016. Talk about longevity. So Kelly McCrimmon, as a general manager, as a head coach, as a owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings, he did a lot of successful things, did some pretty good things with the Brandon Wheat Kings. Now, the reason I'm giving you that context and the reason why I'm giving you backstory is because in 2016, Kelly McCrimmon left the Brandon Wheat Kings as their general manager and as their head coach to become the assistant general manager of an expansion team known as the Vegas Golden Knights. And after 2 seasons of being the assistant general manager to George McPhee, in 2019, he became the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, here's a fun fact for you. Kelly McCrimmon is actually 0-1 as a head coach in the NHL. Back in January of 2021, Kelly McCrimmon had to be the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights against the St. Louis Blues due to a COVID outbreak that took out the entire coaching staff of the Vegas Golden Knights. That's just a little fun fact for you. So Kelly McCrimmon, as a NHL coach, went 0-1 as a 0-1 as a NHL head coach. Now, back to the whole Brandon Wheat Kings thing. So I established that Kelly McCrimmon, for 26 seasons, had a part in the Brandon Wheat Kings. And it wasn't until 2020 that Kelly McCrimmon sold the Brandon Wheat Kings to J&G Group. So Kelly McCrimmon, the first 4 seasons at the Vegas Golden Knights were around. First 4 seasons that the Vegas Golden Knights had Kelly McCrimmon in their coaching staff, in their front office, Kelly McCrimmon was still owning and operating the Brandon Wheat Kings in the WHL. That part's going to be very important later on. So with Kelly McCrimmon for 26 seasons being part of the WHL Brandon Wheat Kings, he found talent. And boy, oh boy, did he find talent that he eventually brought over to the Vegas Golden Knights. The prime example of that, the biggest impact from the Brandon Wheat Kings that was brought over to the Vegas Golden Knights is the Vegas Golden Knights captain in Mark Stone. From 2008 until 2012, Mark Stone played for the Brandon Wheat Kings. He played under Kelly McCrimmon. And not only did he have 106 points in 2010-2011, 123 points in 2011-2012, but with the Brandon Wheat Kings, he also put up 16 playoff points in those final 2 seasons he was with the Brandon Wheat Kings. So Mark Stone has spent 4 years under Kelly McCrimmon. He eventually gets drafted to the Ottawa Senators. He was a 6th-round pick by them. Fast forward to 2019. 2019, the Ottawa Senators are selling off Mark Stone. They're selling off assets. And Kelly McCrimmon picks up the phone and acquires his former Brandon Wheat King player. Kelly McCrimmon acquires Mark Stone in 2019 to become the face of the Vegas Golden Knights. And considering the past 5 seasons that Mark Stone has been in Vegas, it has been a valuable, and I mean valuable, addition to the Vegas Golden Knights. Not only has he had a 63-point season in 2019-2020, a 61-point season in 2020-2021, but he currently has 12 points in 17 games in year 6 of the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a guy that has had a positive plus minus all 5 years he has been part of Vegas. It's also a guy who, in his last 2 playoff series playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, in 45 playoff games, he has had 18 goals, 19 assists, which puts him at 37 points in 45 playoff games for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that is insane value for the Vegas Golden Knights, that he got 39 points in 45 career playoff games for the Vegas Golden Knights. He also has a +3, by the way. So Mark Stone has been the biggest addition to the Vegas Golden Knights that came from the Brandon Wheat Kings. And that addition, no doubt, was because of the relationship Kelly McCrimmon had with Mark Stone because of his time playing in the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, that's just one example. It's one big example, but that's just one example. Is there any more players the Vegas Golden Knights have acquired from the Brandon Wheat Kings? My rebuttal to you would be, I don't just have one more, I have 5 more examples for you. How about defenseman Zach Whitecloud? Now, people will forget this, but Zach Whitecloud spent 2 seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and they actually played in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. So Zach Whitecloud had a relationship with the Brandon Wheat Kings. Fast forward to 2017, 2018, and Zach Whitecloud is an undrafted free agent who gets signed by the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I do understand that George McPhee was the one who originally signed him, but let's not act like George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon, that conversation wouldn't have popped up at some point. The fact that Zach Whitecloud played 2 seasons for the Brandon Wheat Kings, and the fact that he actually had familiarity in terms of that situation. So, when you go back and you actually analyze Zach Whitecloud, his 2 times being there. Also, I want to mention that Kelly McCrimmon was an assistant coach for the Canadian national team a couple of years ago. And who was a player who was part of that team? Oh, that's right. That was Zach Whitecloud. So you have a situation where Kelly McCrimmon not only had a relationship on that front when it came to the Brandon Wheat Kings, but when it came to the Canada's national team, there was that chemistry and that familiarity as well. So I want to point out that when it came to the World Junior Championships in Finland, all right, that year that they had the World Championships out there, that was in 2015, 2016. There's actually something I want to bring up about that real quick, because there was some talent on that Team Canada team that I actually wanted to bring up. So on that 2015 World Junior Ice Hockey Championship rosters, you had Canada on that time. Well, they had Shea Theodore on Team Canada back then. That's the next example. Shea Theodore was on Team Canada for the World Junior Ice Hockey Championships, the same team that Kelly McCrimmon was an assistant coach for out there. So that's another example of someone who crossed paths with Kelly McCrimmon before going to the Vegas Golden Knights. I also want to mention on that 2015 World Junior Championship, they also had a guy on that team. You may have heard of him. His name was Connor McDavid. Yeah, Connor McDavid, I think he turned out to be the best hockey player in the world or something. I don't know. Now, back to the original conversation. The next player from the Brandon Wheat Kings that made an impact in Vegas. The next player that Kelly McCrimmon knew from the Brandon Wheat Kings that he brought over to Vegas is your current starting goaltender. The next player that Vegas brought over from Brandon was their goaltender in Logan Thompson. Now, I have already done a episode on Logan Thompson. I talked about how the future is bright in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm going to leave a card right up here. But in 2014, all the way until 2018, Logan Thompson was the goalie for the Brandon Wheat Kings. That means that Logan Thompson was in net for a team that was coached by Kelly McCrimmon. The first 2 years, Kelly McCrimmon was the head coach. So Logan Thompson being brought over to Vegas, I hope that makes a very clear picture on to why Logan Thompson was brought over. I hope that clears up why Logan Thompson was found and discovered and brought in to Vegas. Because Kelly McCrimmon would have had firsthand knowledge on how well Logan Thompson was in net. He would have experience in seeing that Logan Thompson could become a good goalie in the NHL someday. And the fact that Logan Thompson, by the way, he did not just start a few games for the Brandon Wheat Kings. As a matter of fact, he started 95 games in the regular season between 2016 and 2018. There's also the same guy who had 7 career playoff games in the WHL as the starting goalie for the Brandon Wheat Kings. So Logan Thompson is the next guy the Brandon Wheat Kings brought over to the Vegas Golden Knights. That is another guy that Kelly McCrimmon knew from his past that he has brought into Vegas to make the Vegas Golden Knights a better team. And might I say, this is another player that Logan Thompson, just like Zach Whitecloud, just like Mark Stone, they have made the Vegas Golden Knights a championship contender. Now, this next player that I'm going to bring up is solely because I know somewhere those hockey aficionados are going to mention his name. I know that if I did not bring him up in this episode, somebody would. So, yes, I will address the fact that former second overall pick in the 2017 NHL draft, Nolan Patrick, was from the Brandon Wheat Kings. Yes, the guy that was with the Philadelphia Flyers, the guy who was traded to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Cody Glass. He played for the Brandon Wheat Kings under Kelly McCrimmon. From 2013 all the way until 2017, Nolan Patrick played with Kelly McCrimmon. He played alongside him as his coach. Now, I'm going to bring this up because, yes, am I confident that I would believe that Kelly McCrimmon would give him a second chance by having him trade to Vegas? Absolutely. Now, do I feel bad that Nolan Patrick has been injury-riddled his entire career? Absolutely. Do I feel bad that Nolan Patrick, a guy who had 102 points, 41 goals in his 2015 campaign with the Brandon Wheat Kings, has not had more than 13 goals in a season in the NHL? Do I feel like he has become a bust in the NHL because he had only 77 points as an NHL player? No, I don't. Because Nolan Patrick, 77 points, is 77 more points than I have at the NHL. Nolan Patrick's 77 points is more than what you have at the NHL level. So I'm not going to sit here and bash Nolan Patrick for only having 7 points as a Vegas Golden Knight. Because what I believe happened is that Kelly McCrimmon, because of his experience with Nolan Patrick, acquired Nolan Patrick because he understood and he acknowledged that the Vegas Golden Knights were an organization that could give him a second chance. The Vegas Golden Knights have been built on misfits, right? The Vegas Golden Knights were built on the idea that if you have a second chance, if you need a second opportunity, you come to Vegas and you earn your second chance. So Nolan Patrick being brought over due to his relationship and his prior experience playing with Kelly McCrimmon and the Brandon Wheat Kings is a huge deal. And I just feel very unfortunate that he did not turn out into the guy that Philadelphia drafted second overall. He did not turn into the guy that the Brandon Wheat Kings made him look like in the WHL. It's a very unfortunate story. So with us having about 10 minutes left, I have 3 more examples for you. Now, this guy is currently the starting goaltender in the AHL. However, Jari Patara and Logan Thompson were actually should be very more familiar than you realize. Because in 2018 and all the way until 2020, Jari Patara replaced Logan Thompson as the starting goaltender for the Brandon Wheat Kings in the WHL. Jari Patara played 89 games as a starting goaltender for the Brandon Wheat Kings. And yes, I'm going to acknowledge that he was not the head coach at that time, but Kelly McCrimmon was the owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings. You really believe that an owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings, an owner of a junior hockey league, he wouldn't keep eyes, he wouldn't keep tabs on players that he is being part of? Absolutely, he would keep an eye on them. So when Jari Patara was declared for the NHL draft, when he was eligible to be in the NHL draft, why do you think the Vegas Golden Knights took him? Because he eventually had those 2 seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and he is on his 3rd season playing for the Henderson Silver Knights. So Jari Patara is another example of someone who played for the Brandon Wheat Kings that Kelly McCrimmon would know very well. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a trivia lesson. I'm going to give you a little bit of a fun fact for you. Who was the first player signed to the Vegas Golden Knights? Who was the first ever player the Vegas Golden Knights signed pen to paper back in 2017? Was it a big name? Was it somebody who's still part of Vegas today? Actually, it was someone that Kelly McCrimmon would have known firsthand. Because back in 2017, the Vegas Golden Knights made Reed Duke the first ever player that was signed to the Vegas Golden Knights. This is the same Reed Duke that spent 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017 playing for the Brandon Wheat Kings. So even the first signing in Vegas Golden Knights history had something to do with the Brandon Wheat Kings. Now, how did Reed Duke perform when he was with the Vegas Golden Knights organization? Not only was he a healthy scratch several times in 2017, 2018, 2019 in the NHL, but he spent 5 seasons playing in the AHL for Vegas. He spent 3 seasons in Chicago and then 2 seasons in Henderson. And Reed Duke had his best performing season of 16 points in 2018-2019. So Reed Duke did not become a superstar like Kelly McCrimmon probably thought he could be. But what Kelly McCrimmon did was establish a presence. He was a guy who established that the Brandon Wheat Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights were going to have a relationship from here on out. Reed Duke from the Brandon Wheat Kings being the first ever signing in Vegas Golden Knights history established that. And for anybody who wonders what happened to Reed Duke, he is now playing professional hockey in Slovakia. So, after 5 seasons playing for the Vegas Golden Knights organization, he is now playing pro hockey in Slovakia. Now, the last player from the Brandon Wheat Kings that I have to acknowledge, the last player that the Vegas Golden Knights brought in because of his relationship with Kelly McCrimmon, because of his prior experience being with Kelly McCrimmon, is someone you probably weren't thinking of. In fact, I guarantee this guy was not on your mind. because this guy played for the Brandon Wheat Kings from 2004 to 2007. This guy is an established veteran in the NHL. This is a guy who has accumulated 992 penalty minutes in his NHL career. However, back in 2018, the Vegas Golden Knights made a trade to acquire this guy. The player that I'm talking about is number 75. Some people call him Revo, but his real name is Ryan Reaves. That's right, folks. Ryan Reaves had a relationship with Kelly McCrimmon because he played multiple seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings. He was a member of the Brandon Wheat Kings before getting to the NHL. So it should be no secret that Ryan Reaves became a vital member of the bottom six. That those 4 seasons he played in Vegas, he was not only a grinder, not only was he a bruiser, but Ryan Reaves stroked fear in people. This was the same guy in Ryan Reaves that made his presence known day in and day out. This was a guy that you had to watch out for every single night he was on the ice. And when it comes to Ryan Reaves, he eventually moved on, went to New York Rangers, which are gallant now. But Ryan Reaves' 4 seasons in Vegas will be remembered for one important aspect. Ryan Reaves will always be remembered here in Vegas for one important thing. Telling you not to waste water on commercials. That is the one thing Ryan Reaves will always be remembered for having that commercial where he slams somebody into a wall and tells you not to waste water. Am I right, guys? I mean, am I right? That is the one thing Ryan Reaves will be remembered for here in Las Vegas, for telling you not to waste water and to use your water effectively. Also, creating a beer here in Las Vegas. Creating a beer, by the way, he might also will be remembered for that. Now, we have about 2 minutes left here on the show, so I want to give one more fact that the Vegas Golden Knights used that I did not know until doing research for this show. The Vegas Golden Knights have a bunch of assistant coaches on their organization, but one assistant coach came from the Brandon Wheat Kings. As a matter of fact, he actually played 6 whole seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings from 1997 until 2003. Vegas Golden Knights assistant coach Ryan Craig was alongside Kelly McCrimmon. And when Ryan Craig hung up the uniform after playing 711 games in the minors, where did he go immediately afterwards? He became an assistant coach of the expansion team Vegas Golden Knights. So even the assistant coaches had a prior relationship with Kelly McCrimmon. Ryan Craig spending those seasons with the Brandon Wheat Kings, eventually 20 years later, got him an assistant coaching job in the NHL. So that is your story. That is your explanation on why the Brandon Wheat Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights and the connection between the two. And since I'm going to wrap this up nicely, I'm going to say that do not be surprised if in the 2023 NHL draft, more Brandon Wheat Kings get brought over to Vegas. Do not be surprised if at the NHL trade deadline, former Brandon Wheat Kings like Braden Shen, maybe some former Brandon Wheat Kings like Travis Hamonic could be coming to the Vegas Golden Knights because of their relationship with Kelly McCrimmon. Until next time, continue supporting junior hockey. Go watch all the hockey you can. Go Knights, go, and have a good one.